Mandatory office days ruined my company.
Just like most companies, my company was forced to go completely remote as the byproduct of the pandemic. It was an easy transition as we already worked predominantly online anyways, just in an office setting. We run meetings and collaborate with stakeholders countrywide. Needless to say, we thrived during the past 3 years, with productivity at an all-time high and turnover rate at an all-time low. Colleagues were encouraged to take frequent breaks and not to worry about school runs or medical appointments as long as it doesn't block work or results in projects not being finished. We started to win industry awards for this and everyone was extremely satisfied. You were asked to go to the office for collaboration purposes if it was needed, but they pretty much left it to you to decide. This was until our smallish tech firm hired a new director who decided to enforce a mandatory 3 days in the office.
Now these past 3 years we closed 2 of our 4 offices in the UK. Most people moved out of cities and bought houses, sent their kids to school in a new town and took on volunteering roles in their new communities. Second cars were sold and people took on more caring responsibilities as they worked from home most days anyways. As you would expect, people were extremely angry over this, voicing their concerns. I will preface this with saying that we did better WFH and they admitted it too. There was no business reason to do this. This decision resulted in competitors moving in and taking away key players. We lost our apprentices as they were located across the UK. People started to quit left and right. As things got quieter, people decided to maliciously comply. Our remaining offices got overwhelmed with traffic. People could not find a desk to work, so meetings got delayed. People refused to work over their contracted hours or take on extra responsibilities.
Our productivity plummeted and we had to resort to hiring expensive consultants to help. Internal satisfaction surveys were so bad that they refused to publish the results. This happened in January. I just handed in my notice after 27 years and will be joining our competitor in 2 weeks. I thought I will retire from here. Needless to say, an emergency meeting was called between the senior leadership and they tried to fix things, but the damage is so bad that they had to hire an external company to save them from bankruptcy. Edit, added paragraphs.
Wow, you've been a loyal employee for 27 years and your company just decides to screw with you. You've done the right thing by resigning. I wish you well in your new job. Your new employer will be lucky you have you.
I worked for a business that said they would continue WFH after reluctantly acknowledging. Productivity improved and the staff were more engaged. The same as your team. People moved. Commitments about care were made, and then out of the blue came, you will work in the office for 4 days and need permission from your senior manager to work the single day from home, which can be refused. If you need to work 2 days from home, you need director level permission. I joined the exodus of people that left.
I've heard companies doing this on purpose to have employees quit, that way they don't have to do layoffs and pay out retirement packages/unemployment benefits. It obviously backfires though because they lose the valuable employees. You don't get to pick who quits, unlike in layoffs.
Bet the new director got a big fat bonus. This why the phrase, new manager, instantly ratchets my anxiety up several levels. I know from experience there's about a 15% chance of them being a competent, useful individual, and an 85% chance of them being a malignant, power-tripping idiot who destroys everything effective we've done in order to shake things up and show them who's boss. It's like picking up the pieces after a natural disaster. Except the disaster is standing to one side shaking hands with another older disaster who's promoting them to a higher disaster level while wondering why we destroyed our own hovels. As a consultant, I see this story repeated so frequently at companies I work with and with predictable results. And it's never for a sound business reason, but because of a clevel's ego or someone couldn't get out of an expensive lease for their office building, or because we're a family. So glad my job allows me to be one step removed from that petty insanity. Departing email to all staff. And in summary, all of these blitheringly stupid and completely foreseeable results were the fault of one person. The new Director X, who has in their incompetence completely and utterly destroyed the company. Well, them and the person who decided that hiring them and letting them morb all over the place was in anyway a good idea. You know who you are. I've been with my company for 17 years. Very similar trend as ops. We've lost our top performers. I accepted a new role a couple of weeks after they forced us back. Just waiting for visa approval. My manager told me this week how happy she was that I was still around. She hates this new arrangement as much as I do. I really had to bite my tongue. Making people return to the office 3 days a week, after we've all made major life decisions around remote work, is not about collaboration and teamwork. It is about power and control. To old school managers, seat time in the office trumps actual productivity. It is stupid. From what I understand, the big bosses want everyone back in offices because they have a lease and they're damned well going to use it. I love my company saying 3 days a week for collaboration when all meetings are remote since teams are in 3 separate states. Lol. This may not apply to the company in question in OP's post, but many companies, and most publicly traded and especially Fortune 500 companies, have executives and major shareholders who have investments in so many things that WFH caused their wallets to take a hit. Commercial real estate and retail services are huge investment pools in general. If your publicly traded company suddenly decides to forget about all the productivity and quality of life improvements WFH has brought them and demand you back in the office, it's because someone is not making as much money off of your commute, lunch break, coffee break, etc. It sounds small, but when it's thousands of people every day, every $5 makes a difference. You spend more money on retail services, gasoline, office space, restaurants, fast food, and goods in general when you don't work from home. The only reason any company would care if you were in the office or not is because they are being swayed by people, or themselves, who have investments that aren't doing as good when you're at home all the time. It's money. It's always money. I see everything is going well here. Let's change that. Our company promised us virtual was here to stay. People made massive life changes. New CEO comes in and it's suddenly time to RTO 3 days a week. People asked how they can do that when they said virtual was here to stay, and they decided to gaslight us all by saying, "We never said it was permanent." Oh, okay. So sorry your entire workforce misread the "here to stay" as being here to stay. We lost 1,000 employees in the last few months. I've been with them 20 years and I'm searching for a new position that is full virtual. It's absolutely infuriating, and there isn't anything we can do other than quit. In my job, not only do I work more productively, I also take less PTO for things like doc appointments. My drive to the office is 35 minutes. Me taking my kid to the doc every 3 months is now a lunch break instead of half a day PTO. Also, I save $40 a week in parking fees. God knows how much in lunches and various purchases at work. And about $200 a month in gas. Not to mention wear and tear on the car. I fill up my tank and it can last 3 weeks unless we go out of town. Finally, I used to have to pay city income tax both at my city where I worked and my home city. I now only pay my home city taxes as I only WFH. I have lost weight and generally feel better logging into work. I have more free time and sleep time due to no commute and 30-minute walk across campus. My company owns all their real estate as well, so they can sell of their property or use it for something else. Edit. I wanted to add that I am not the most social person in the world. I do not care to know how your weekend was or hear snide comments about how the world is falling apart because trans people are reading books to kids, or how your free spirit kid has taken off a year of college to trip balls and follow fish and hike the Appalachian Trail. I also know that you couldn't care less that I power washed my porch and played a new video game that I am infatuated with. A weekly meeting with my boss, along with a meeting with my team a couple times a month, is perfect. Plenty of other meetings too, but they get to the point and are not stupidly long and unnecessary. Oh, and I can also work in my boxers. My partner works for a company that had 3 offices within a 20-minute drive of our house. In fact, we moved here to be closer to one of them. The nearest office was 7 minutes away. In the last few years, the company has closed all 3 locations, and the nearest office is now an hour away. They just rescinded WFH and are requiring 3 days a week in the office. I cannot for the life of me convince him to look for another job. New director should win the Mismanagement of the Year award. I've been working from home since the very beginning of COVID, and every few months they tell me they are going to try to pull me back in, and then half of my team quit and they decided I can come in 2 days a month instead. Some companies are forcing a return to the office knowing that people will quit. Less bad publicity than layoffs. This is currently happening in my company. 3 weeks ago they announced cold turkey a 5 days a week RTO with only a week notice. Since then 10% of staff resigned, and according to a HR survey 75% staff changed their LinkedIn status to open to work. Our Glassdoor page took a beating, and I cannot imagine anyone reading the reviews willingly accept to join the company. The CFO resigned the same week. The funny thing is that right after announcing this, the CEO and deputy CEO left for 2 weeks on holidays. They're back on Monday. It's going to be interesting to say the least.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Heracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.